Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Freed. We have a great panel as always. Harry Glenn joins us on the Zoomcast.
Good morning, Harvey. Good morning, everybody.
We can almost hear you. All right, we'll get that worked out. Becky Alley, there you go. Good morning, Becky.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our show.
Hey, Becky, good morning. Of course, Becky, top 1% of all originators. And Becky's guest today, Joe Muck, NextHome All Pro Realty. Joe, we always have you on. You're a frequent guest. It's like the Johnny Carson show. You get your coat today or something. It's at least your 10th appearance.
You're lucky I'm old enough to know Johnny Carson. Come on.
You know who that is, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
But I'm proud and happy to be here. I appreciate it every time I'm invited on. Love working with you guys, Becky Alley, and the whole crew over at Capital Mortgage. It's awesome.
Well, we're going to have a great day today. Of course, 1 hour of mortgage and real estate talk. We're going to dive right in, and we want to hear from all of the listeners out there. If you're buying or selling a house, you got to have a great team together. Today would be maybe one of those shows that ask these tougher questions. 82 and some rain, but definitely a great day to get out there and find that new house, Joe. We're going to talk about the inventory. And Becky, if you don't mind us diving right in with Joe, we're going to go right into these gimmicks. Because boy, oh boy, Becky, if you want to even dive in first with us, we're starting to see some gimmick things out there. Again, forget about the contingency waivers and this and that and overbidding. Now we're starting to see some gimmick buyers and things that really don't work in today's marketplace.
What do you, you talking about people going door to door trying to sell you a Kirby vacuum cleaner kind of gimmicks? Like
those things work good, I heard. I think they work good.
Yeah. I almost got sold on one, just kidding. But you're right. There's a lot of noise out there. You have to know what you're getting into. And, people are being creative, but in some cases they're also being silly. So I definitely want to hear what Joe's take on the whole gimmick buyers, because I know what the sellers are doing, but, buyers, they're being creative. So what do you got going on with that whole thing?
Well, I'm almost even looking at this concept of call us and we've got this special program that nobody else allegedly has, right? Whether it be on the mortgage side, we could close in 10 days. I'm sure you can if you've got an 800 credit score and you've got 50% down, right? But if you're struggling to get a pre-approval, I'm sure you can't close in 10 days. So call us up and we'll find out. It's like the gimmick. And the same thing on the real estate side. We're like, we can buy your house for you.
That way you're a cash offer and then you have to buy it back from the people, and then so what, the sellers are going to give it away? I don't get that.
Or the iBuyer type programs, and I think that's a specific, so maybe I shouldn't say the name, but these I'll buy your house programs. I'll buy your house right now for 60% of the value. I'll buy it. This is something that I'm happy to offer too, right? If that's what somebody's looking for, they want no buyers to come through the house. They don't want to clean it up. They don't want to prep it. They don't want pictures, and they need somebody to go ahead and buy the house for 60 to 65% of today's market value. I'll buy it.
Hey, Harry, you've been around a long time, Harry, 30 plus years in the mortgage industry. We've seen a lot of things come and go. Look, everyone wants their phones to ring, Harry, but again, let's not, without getting us too much into trouble here, there are some things out there that don't work in today's marketplace or in the past.
Harvey, Joe, Becky, there are most days when I see these bait and switch tactics, most days when I see these, things coming on that are just not true and it's just inaccurate information, I just let it slide. But then there are days, there's moments, I shouldn't say days, there's a moment where I have to call it out, where I have to set the record straight. We've never been a bait and switch company. I've never been a bait and switch guy. I've never just thrown a bunch of stuff out there to see what sticks, to see how many phone calls we could get. I take this business very, very seriously. I would never, ever go out just because we closed a few loans in 7 days, just because we, maybe pulled some magic out of our hat, go on and represent that that's an everyday thing, and then have a caveat and say, if you qualify. Listen, we have now, and I'm trying to stay out of this pool because, when you swim in the sewers, you just get dirty. And I don't like to play in the sewers. I always like to take the high road because it's less traveled. The high road is always less traveled. But I just want people to understand something. The same people that got you in trouble then will get you in trouble now. We've always been a straight up fixed rate mortgage lender. If you want us to investigate other programs for you, that's fine. But you cannot believe all the stuff you see in here, and you got to call us because we're going to give it to you straight. That's how intense I am this morning, Harvey. That's just what it is.
I want to piggyback on that. I mean, because it's all about you're setting a standard, right? And yes, can we close loans in 7 days? Have we? Yes, but that would be false advertisement to allude to the fact that that would be an industry standard, because everyone's situation is different. Someone might open up credit and someone might do these different things, or maybe they don't have their ducks in a row and they're going to say, well, you said I could close in 7 days, so it is possible. Yes, but there are so many moving parts. I'm going to even throw out Dairy Queen, for example. They have a set standard on what you get. Their product has to be the same all the time, to the point that I know this because my niece works there, right? So they are weighing these small cones to make sure that you're getting 6 ounces every time, because you want to know why? Because the guy that got 7 ounces last time is coming back to me like, well, this is a little bit smaller this time. It's a set standard. They take pride in what they're doing. We take pride in what we're doing. Joe's takes pride in what he does. And that's why it's called a standard. And you can't just sugarcoat the couple of times that everything went perfect and allude to the fact to the public that that's going to be the way to get your foot in the door, just so you can call us and be like, oh, well, sorry, I pulled your credit. Now it's whatever rate. You can't do that. It's not right.
Let me give you one more thing on this, Harvey, because you know how at certain moments in time I get really intense about this. What happens is you call and you see an advertisement, or you get a mailer, or you get an email, and they're going to tell you they can do whatever they can do for you. Then all of a sudden they're going to tell you they can't. But the problem is you've already given them $500, $600 in deposit money that you're never going to get back. We don't take deposit money like that. We won't do it unless we won't take your money unless we know we can do the loan. And I'll tell you right now, if we can't do the loan, we'll give you your money back. Nobody else does that. So I'm just going to say that, and you know how intense I get about that.
248-539-9797. We take your calls all morning long. It's our Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. This is where we give you some straight up answers about buying a house, refinancing. Joe, buying a house is a lot of fun. We talked about it last night. We're going through some old articles. I click on one on NAR, the National Association of Realtors, 2013, rent versus owning. Joe, it was true in 13. It's true today. Owning a house is less expensive. We did the math on a $300,000 house last night. It was less money to probably own a $300,000 house than to rent a $200,000 house.
Yeah, we went through this whole scenario of, what it means to buy a house at a certain time, certain down payment, certain interest rate, all these fun things. And at the end of the day, most scenarios, it's better to buy. Yes, there are some scenarios where it's not. This kind of comes back to what we were just saying, right? It's case by case, but the majority of people, cheaper to buy, cheaper to own, better, and it's yours. And then if you're ready to move out some other time and you don't want to be there or whatever, then you can either lease it yourself or you can sell it for profit. We were talking about like the forbearance thing. The people who unfortunately had to file for it, there's a small percentage, and the majority of that percentage actually has equity in their house. People have equity. You build equity. Real estate is your best investment time over a 10-year period. It beats everything all the time.
The Detroit Free Press comes out today and it's trying to motivate some sellers, I think, to get their house on the marketplace. They put about 2 or 3 pages worth of what today's market is like. And of course, we've been talking about it for the last, 2 years, even before the pandemic kicked in. Becky, before the pandemic, February 2020, we were rocking. Yeah. That was a great beginning. We talk about home ownership isn't seasonal anymore in Michigan. Now we got 5 seasons anyway. Of course, they kicked in the monsoon season this year.
That's so true.
With that being said, it's not seasonal in Michigan anymore. And because the interest rates make it where everyone needs to be a homeowner.
Yeah, I mean, with the COVID-19, it was a perfect storm with the interest rates and things like that. So we actually never saw a slowdown whatsoever. We were fortunate, obviously. So as much as we were in a good position to be able to help as many people, I also understand and we have empathy for the people that were we're struggling. So our job was to reach out to them, see what we could do to help them, try to get them in a better situation. But you're right. Like in Michigan, people are no longer afraid of the snow. Okay. We're going to have our snowy seasons, but we've had pretty mild winters the last several years. So, but in Michigan, like no one cares about, I'm going to be moving in the snow. I'm going to be moving in the rain now. We are all good with it. Even with Michigan, even up north, I mean, we're one of the few states that you can literally drive, 2-3 hours in one direction and feel like you're in someplace tropical, like Torch Lake. It's gorgeous. We have beautiful lakes. We have beautiful water. We have access. It's fresh lake. So why don't you want to live in Michigan? And why would you care about moving in the snow? Because if you're living in Michigan, you're fully aware of what our weather is like, obviously. And I love the fact that we have gotten to that kind of state where it's 365 around here. business, always trying to get it done.
Joe, there's the golf courses, there's the bodies of waters, there's, being out in your neck of the woods. I go out there a lot, Joe, and, just a little bit west. I don't want to give away exactly where you live, but the Lyon Township area, you take your 6-7 mile and you just go west. Absolutely beautiful open land. I'm starting to see more and more subdivisions. You and I were talking about that one roundabout. There's a little pocket there, another 12 or 15 homes. You got a new construction sub out there. Families need to get out west a little bit. I don't care if you're from St. Clair Shores. Check out what's going on just a little bit even west of Oakland County.
Yeah, you start heading a little bit west, Lyon Township, Green Oak Township, all those things, they're touching Livingston County and Oakland County.
Yeah.
And so, you've got a little bit better tax rate, and then you are still getting more bang for your buck. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is that as much as I might love where my office is located, downtown Northville, median sales price is 508. Actually, it might be 512 now, median sales price. So if you're just kind of normal, maybe just buying a 1,200, 1,600 square foot older, needs to be updated place, you're spending 500 grand. Well, 500 grand, it'll get you a lot more as you head a little bit more west. So you come out to, South Lyon, go out to Howell, go to Pinckney, go to Hamburg, go to these areas, man, you're getting much more bang for your buck, even if it seems like, wow, it was only X dollars a few years ago.
Reevaluate your wants and needs list. That's one of the things too, Becky. We see that all the time with homeowners. It's been a struggle over the last definitely year and a half, 2 years trying to get their offer, accepted multiple offers. Of course, as I mentioned, the Detroit Free Press jumps in on it also. So just getting yourself prepared, your mindset prepared on what your needs and want list are. If you have children, that school district's going to come to play. And then maybe if you want a little bit more land and be able to maybe grow into some equity in the future.
Yeah, we're big on either you're prepared or you're preparing to fail, right? You can't just walk into a home right now and expect your offer to be accepted. Now, we have seen that more, sellers are starting to accept more concessions now. There is more of those competitive offers are being entertained. You don't have to just have this cash offer. I feel like people backed off a little bit on these $34,000 over asking price type things. But you're right. You have to love where you live right now. And if anything, this pandemic has allowed us to kind of reevaluate what you're looking into a home, and you can move a little bit further out. You don't necessarily have to be right on top of your neighbor, because most of these offices are going to still allow a lot of these employees to work remotely. I have someone right now, they're a client of mine. They are moving from Pennsylvania to Michigan. She has a job, she's transferring to Michigan, but his base is staying with this Pennsylvania employer. And we just have to get a letter that they're going to allow him to work remotely to show that, this is going to be their primary residence. And that is going to be the new norm, where if you're sitting and you want to live somewhere in Howell, like you're saying, or Pinckney, where there's a little bit more space, you don't have to worry about that drive anymore, which that used to be a turnoff for some people.
All right, we got a lot to talk about, and Harry and I touched on that this week. You can live, you can work anywhere, which opens up a lot of new doors. 248-539-9797. We come back, all your calls.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
back to the show. If you're just joining us, 9/17, August 7th, 2021. It's a Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, equal housing lender. I don't have to say those numbers quick because we've been around a really, really long time. And there's so much going on in the mortgage and real estate business. We always talk, Joe Muck joins us, of course, NextHome All Pro Realty. Joe, we always talk about this strong real estate team. And again, I don't care if you just got your license yesterday or you've been doing this for 30 years. I don't care. You got to answer your phone. You got to be professional, and you better know what you're talking about, because today's marketplace with these new with the addendums that are out there and all the language, you better get some help. I don't understand why people don't reach out and sometimes get a little bit more help to make the deal happen.
I never understand either. I mean, it's the craziest thing. We have teams, we have brokers, we have people in the office. You've got the other agent. I mean, if you don't really know what you're doing, call the other agent and say, hey, I'm trying to structure a deal. We want to sell houses, right? That's our job. And yes, there's obviously, just like anything, there's some bad apples in the bunch. There's a couple people that maybe, aren't going to help you out. You call them up and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to structure. What's going to work with your client, right? I mean, it's not like rocket science. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not rocket science either. There's a happy medium, and knowing what you do, paying attention, servicing your client is going to, win every time.
We talked a little bit about the gimmicky stuff out there, but at the end of the day, it's the blocking and tackling. We always say it's the basics. You got to get title insurance. You got to be able to have your mortgage financing in play. And that's why, of course, you would call it Capital Mortgage Funding. Call a great lender here in Southeast Michigan. You'll know if you're dealing with a great lender. If you're talking about things other than interest rate, Becky Alley, you're probably working with a great lender, because we're talking about all the things that we know are very important about a mortgage and a purchase transaction closing. As cohesive as it can be, it can get a little sloppy. And again, Becky, isn't it great? We've been going to these closings after the pandemic, seeing the old-fashioned buyer and sellers at the table, discussing the garbage pickup and everything that's great about that house they're buying.
Yeah, it is. So it is very nice, actually, to get back to that normalcy, that camaraderie that you once felt that we, kind of got away from. And you're right. I mean, nothing is more satisfying than when you have a first-time home buyer. They didn't think they can do it. You've literally been coaching them for 6 months, and they are just so happy. They are in tears. I had one of those on Friday where was buying the house that she rented. She didn't think that she could do it. She was referred to me by a client of mine. We had to kind of work on some stuff. And when I said, listen, I'm like, you can buy this house. If you want to live here, this can be yours. It's time to stop, making your landlord's mortgage payments. And she, even at the idea that she could buy this house, she got teary, and you could hear her emotion through the phone. And, we worked side by side. And when I said, hey, we are clear to close, I mean, it was the most gratifying feeling. It's almost to the point that I felt selfish about how good it made me feel, because I was so happy for her, because we're part of everyone's journey. I mean, we are in a milestone that is in their life forever. And if you don't take proper care of that moment and those people, shame on you, because you can't just be transactional, because this is everyone's livelihood and your biggest investment. And we do not take that lightly here at Capital Mortgage Funding. I will say that it is a pleasure to be able to work with some of these people like we do.
Carlos is calling in from Marine City, and we take all your calls here, 248-539-9797. Good morning, Carlos. Go ahead with your question. Good morning. What do you got going on? Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You want to be prepared for the next house. Carlos, one of the things that we know that's going on in today's marketplace, and Becky and Joe will all join in on this conversation. It's a great question. It's hard to downsize in today's market. Are you looking for a smaller home? Or are you looking for a lower? Joe, let me just say this. There's no doubt Carlos is looking for a smaller house, but he's talking, because he's on disability, less income coming in. It might be, and again, Joe, we want to sell these houses. I want Carlos to put his house on the market. I want him to buy a new one. But at the end of the day, it might not be more affordable for him to do this. He might be better off keeping his house.
And this is where the experts come in, right? You have that conversation. If I was his agent, I would have that conversation. And we talk about, why are we doing this? What's your goal? Okay, now this goal makes sense. This is how we're going to accomplish the goal. And the people you talk to is absolutely right. You got to get your pre-approval lined up first, because then you've talked finances with a lender. You've gotten deep. You know how much money you have to work with, how much are you going to get from the sale of your current home to put down on the next one. All these fun things that come into play that, we typically do behind the scenes, right? We don't involve, unless we have to ask some questions, we don't involve our clients in all these things that we're working with. I call it, Becky, hey, this is what I need to do. Can you find out, can you do this? Those types of things. This is what we work on to make sure we're accomplishing the right thing for the client. Because like you said, it sounds like he probably needs to downsize, but it's possible based on today's marketplace, it's best to do something else. We don't know.
It could be just to stay in the house. Carlos, one of the things is, and I don't want to go too deep into this other than when you do buy that new house, the house gets reassessed and those property taxes go up. And sometimes we have to take a look at those numbers and see what the inventory is going to be. Are there 2 bedrooms that are going to have lower tax bases for you, and is it going to be more affordable? Thanks for the call, Carlos. We got some great news yesterday. Social Security benefits are going to get a bump finally. I mean, they haven't had a bump, they said, since 1983, other than the annual inflation bump, which is 1.3%, which it wasn't even keeping up. Harry, this is a little bit more towards our older population, as a lot of the clients here, look, the pensions don't exist anymore, but some of our clients have pensions. But Harry, even I, one day, maybe 20 some years from now, might want to collect a Social Security check and live on that income. The cost of gas, the cost of bread, these things cost money.
So Harvey, you're addressing Social Security because you're about to collect. I understand that, but but I understand that. And it's always good when you get a bump and everything. But let me go back to Carlos for a second.
Yeah.
The bottom line with Carlos is, and you'll give Carlos a call after the show, but the thing what you're saying is, Harvey, it might be right now the best time and the best thing for him to do is hold until the market settles down, as Joe directly mentioned. But also goals and objectives. We have to figure out, and Carlos has to figure out, what are his goals and objectives, and then we could go ahead and have a plan and better serve his particular need, because it's all about goals and objectives. Rick Bloom, Money Talk Show, here on this station for many, many, many years. His big thing was goals and objectives, and we like to go ahead and carry that forward. And I think it's a great plan, but we have to figure out what his goals and objectives are. As for Social Security, Harvey, I'm sure the bump is not going to be that much. You're not going to be able to get that much in a few weeks when you file. But
yeah.
It's always a good situation when you're going to get a bump in your Social Security.
All right. Look, people are aging here. They're looking, Joe, to sell maybe that house. We need these houses on the marketplace. These are the homes that our parents, our grandparents, they were raising families in. And these are the homes that we need to get back on the marketplace to keep the thing going. Well, again, maybe the inventory on the 2 bedrooms on the downsize is in a position now where it might make sense. Let's just wrap up that conversation. You definitely need to get more professionals involved.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is too, it sounds like it's not a financial thing, but it's a size thing. He needs 2 bedroom, maybe just needs a 1 floor or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping for his sake, if he's looking for a smaller 2 bedroom, he's hoping to maybe some condos as well, because you don't find a lot of 2 bedroom houses.
Right.
In fact, I tell almost anybody I set up on a search that unless you really only want 2 bedrooms, I highly recommend 3+, because the resale value, one day it's going to be sold, whether it's you selling it, it's your estate, do what you got to do.
All right. We're up against our second break here. When we come back, it's going to be all your calls. 248-539-9797. Keep it here.
Hi, Harry Glanson Danberg from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
We're going to be here next year too, so give us a call. And you can reach us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker, always live in the studio, 248-539-9797.
Brando!
Harvey, Harry Glantz, Becky Aley from Capital Mortgage, Joe Muck, NextHome All Pro Realty out in the Northville area. Joe, we touched on it, man. I love that Northville city. I love all the cities, but it's everyone's choice. Are you in a position in your life where you're looking to stretch your legs and have the kids out there with the little motorcycles and maybe put a pool and have that kind of living space? Joe, your living space was great. We'll get into your backyard in a minute. Thanks for showing it off. But, or do you want to be in the city life where you can walk to the local restaurants and the Starbucks, that kind of
stuff? Showed a house yesterday, downtown Plymouth area.
Love it.
And I said, hey, he goes, well, I don't know if this one's working for me. And I said, well, what about Northville? And I asked him about a specific address, and he goes, is this walking distance downtown? That was it. This is what we're talking about. What is your criteria? He had a budget wide open. So it didn't matter if we were buying a 500,000, 800,000, he had a big budget, right? So the proximity to the downtown area was the most important in his world. Didn't matter if it was fixed up already or not, he could fix it up. And he was coming from Chicago. Right?
I love it.
So these out-of-state buyers, Becky was hitting on it earlier, we're a 365 state now. You've got the golf clubs, you've got the lakes, you've got cabins, you've got hunting, you've got, nature trails. We've got it all, right? Yeah, it gets a little cold. So some of us who maybe have lived here our whole lives are the ones that are thinking about going somewhere else for the winter or something like that. But we've got these guys coming to us from Chicago, from New York, from these other areas where these prices were way up, right? So they're selling their $1.2 million house and they're buying this cheap $600,000 house or whatever it is.
Cheap.
Because to them it is, right? And so what we're seeing this out-of-state activity more and more and more. And especially, around some of these areas where it's a little bit country or it's a little bit more, quarter acre, half an acre even of land, because when you're coming from the big city, land is a premium. So it's all about what you want.
What are these bubble people talking about, Joe? A lot of people talk about a lot of things they don't ever have a clue. We know the bubble was caused. Well, things could happen. The economy could, there could be an asteroid headed to the Earth right now. So things do happen. But on the other hand, definitely, values, the prices keep going up. But the reason why things blew up in the 2007 is because these were unqualified mortgages. People that were, not even making money were trying to buy them on speculation and rent them out. They lost those homes.
Yeah.
This is different.
We did the podcast the other day, and Harvey had his crystal ball. And so to your point, we can look at our crystal ball, but we don't know for sure, a disaster or something like that. What we know is facts and data. And we look at those things and we compare then to now. And it's such a different marketplace. Everything is different about it. And that's, we could spend the next 3 shows probably talking about why we're not in a bubble. Okay.
Exactly.
So I'll just sum it up with saying the facts are out there. The information's out there. Mortgages are different. Prices are different. The scenario's different. Equity's different. So many things are different. The only thing that's the same, prices are on the rise. Well, that's what you want. Just like you want your wage to be on the rise, just like food costs are on the rise, cars are on the rise. I had an F-150. Okay. When I first looked at F-150s when I got my driver's license, they were around $30,000.
Yeah.
When
not
I
anymore.
got my F-150, they had them up to $85,000, right? As a truck.
Hey, that's a nice vehicle though. We're going to support that F-150.
But that didn't exist back in the day. So everything's prices on the rise is my point. It's not just housing. It's not a housing bubble we're in. Everything's on the rise.
Everything's on the rise. Hey, let's go out to Dennis in Melvindale. Dennis, good morning. Welcome to the show. Go ahead, sir. Ouch. Well, I'm definitely going to call you off the air. Becky, what do you think?
We could definitely call you, assess what's happening. With you saying an 8% interest rate, you had to be in this mortgage for quite some time. I would assume that you haven't got an 8% interest rate anytime within the last, 6 years, I would imagine, that I can think of. So we definitely need to put you in a better position, 1,000%. You'd probably be better suited for a 15-year at this point, with your rate and things like that. You don't want an escrow account. These are all things that we can definitely customize specifically to you. Again, maybe some of the things that you're talking about was what we were just talking about right before you called in, right? You're talking about you wanted to know escrow, the bait and switch things that we were talking about earlier in the show. You know, you thought you're going to get one thing, you get another. Obviously, we are advocates for the general public, for ourselves, for people like you to be in better positions. And that is not our work ethic. That's not what we do. So we are not going to bait and switch you. But unfortunately, what you're calling in about really did happen. And it is a point to what we were speaking on earlier that, you know, there were some unfortunate people that were doling out mortgages that just were not the right thing for people like yourself. So we definitely will call you. We're definitely going to hear what you have to say. And we're definitely going to get you out of whatever mess you have in that you've probably been in for a little bit too long.
Thanks for the call, Dennis. I'm going to come down and pick up the documents. I think Melvindale's where that best pizza was voted on.
Hey, that's my grandma's backyard. My parents are from Melvindale.
All right, I'm going to call Dennis after the show. I'm grabbing his documents, grabbing his the whole deal. All right, 248.
Yeah, but Harvey, I will tell you this: there are some red flags that come out when we get a call like that. There are a lot of red flags. First of all, changing your escrow account or non-escrow to an escrow account, that's a red flag. Another red flag is 8% interest rate. There are two red flags that go up there for me. First of all, 8% hasn't been around in a very, very, very long time. And second of all, how come he hasn't refinanced previously to this? So there are a lot of things that come up in conversation in 5 sentences that we can kind of pick at. But the bottom line is we got to go and we're going to call him up. We're going to see what the real story is. We'll do all the work for free. No obligation. We'll dive into it and we'll see what's going on. That's how it has to be.
Fair enough.
But there are people still in these mortgages, though. I mean, like, honestly, like I actually have one right now. They were at, they're at 7%. They just never got around to it. I don't know what their, real exact reason was. I mean, but there are people still sitting in these mortgages that came out 10 years ago. And, and they just are finally maybe getting educated on what they're doing, or maybe they're just paying attention a little bit more to what their current rate is. I mean, so if you are out there and you have these these higher rate mortgages, I mean, you do need to have a conversation with somebody to get yourself in a better position, because you're just throwing your money away, and you probably could have had that house paid off maybe 5 or 6 years ago, depending on what the rates were. So definitely looking forward for us to have that conversation with them.
That's a good segue, because refinance, I mean, these times are great right now. Nothing like the present time while you can really get the best rates out there. The Delta variant actually scared the rates from trickling up because the economy is improving. People are getting back to work. And we saw the jobs report the other day. Things are moving in the right direction. Again, the big question mark is, where does this pandemic go from here, and what else could happen in the world to jam things up? But definitely great opportunities out there to refinance. Becky, we talk about it all the time. Consolidation loans. There's all these families that haven't refinanced. That's what we're talking about. There's all these families that haven't refinanced yet to remove the mortgage insurance, whether it be on an FHA loan, maybe the MIP, the mortgage insurance premium, on a conventional loan, the PMI, the private mortgage insurance. So that's a good reason to refinance. That consolidation and taking advantage of today's lower interest rates and dropping that term down. Wow, what a home run for families. Give us a call. We got open lines here, 248-539-9797. Let's move off to Lewis, who's calling in St. Clair Shores. Good morning, Lewis. Welcome to our show. Real good. What's happening? Good job. Right. I like. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're a self-employed person who writes off all their income. Again, every self-employed person has a choice. I mean, hey, Becky, we have self-employed people that make $1 million a year, but only show 300,000. So yeah, they're not showing what they make, but they have plenty of money to qualify. So if you make 100,000 a year and you only show 25, 30,000, Becky, it is hard to qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah, listen, you have to show money on paper if you're trying to do anything with your finances. Okay. And I definitely understand that, you know, you're self-employed and you have your write-offs and you have your things like that. Right. But when you're trying to obtain a mortgage, obviously you might have to back off a little bit on those write-offs that you might have, or paying your employees or things like that. I mean, so that's definitely something that if you have tried and failed several times, we probably should talk to you. We should probably get you in contact with a good CPA. We are not tax advisors, but you probably should talk to someone that could kind of advise you on how you need to run your income a little bit better. That's going to allow you to check these boxes that you need to get yourself in a better position with your finances with the mortgage. Because again, you're on an ARM. This is not a adjustable rate market. We are in a fixed rate market. We are here to attest to that. And if you're at 3.25, that is great, but we can secure you probably a little bit lower than that. And, you know, that's something that you definitely should want to aspire to with your goal. So we're halfway through 2021. So definitely start thinking about that. And I would get in contact with your CPA right away to make sure that you're on target for 2021 taxes. So that way we can get you refied right after that. I mean, you can have at least 1 year, yes. But again, that is going to be contingent upon your specific situation. So once we talk with you after, off air, we can kind of analyze your situation to make sure that you're going to be someone that just 1 year tax return will work for you.
Hey, Louis, just tell me something. I don't want to get into it too deep, but what do you owe on this place? Oh, it's okay. It's still 100,000. Yeah, you could. Okay. Yeah. Look, you don't need to do anything right now. We can't hear your whole life story. It's only an hour show, but I appreciate the call. No, it's good stuff, man. If you didn't do anything right now, there's no hurry for you. Like you said, you got a great equity position, but definitely an opportunity to maybe fix that rate up. And anyone out there listening, sometimes you just got to refinance your house. Sometimes you can hang on to it. So we'll talk a little bit more to 248-539-9797. We'll be right back.
Yeah. Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Want to really thank him and his family and anyone else who
Hi,
helped get him here this morning. Tim, you're doing a great job. And he's been cussing me. I goes, Harvey, what are you? Is it my first day here? He's only been here for 20 plus years. Anyways, thanks, Tim. 248-539-9797. He's not going to put his mic on, but we want to hear from all our callers out there. We got Kevin calling in from Detroit. Go ahead, Kev. Kevin, you there? Yeah, we'll get you on. Yeah, Kev, go ahead. Yeah.
Scroll down. You're not muted.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Whoa. Slow down there, cowboy. Hold on there a second, Kev. Yeah. Wait, Kev. Hey, if you're calling up to stump the mortgage people, you got to slow down a little bit. If you refinance a land contract, you can go to a conventional loan if you qualify. So what are you saying? Time period to do what? All right, cool. Are you asking to take cash out?
That's 12 months.
It's also going to be predicated on how that land contract was written, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly, Joe.
The seller may have said they have prepayment penalty, right? Something that doesn't really exist on a standard mortgage, but land contract is not a standard mortgage. It's just basically a handshake deal putting on paper.
Sometimes they have to close on a transaction because of what's going on. We talked about the gimmicks out there. So there's a possibility that sometimes, Kev, it's a good question. It's an extended question because there's lots of different angles. But generally speaking, most of the reason why someone gets a land contract is they have a credit issue or maybe an income or qualifying, and they need 12 months. So the bank, the lender, is able to look at a 12-month history, and that's the key. The reason why the 12 months is typically required is because it's a standard land contract. Here, you're going to jump in right after. Standard land contract typically is a reason we might want to show that you've made 12 timely payments. And the key with that land contract payment is that it's not paid in cash, that it's documented, that you have bank statements or actual copies of canceled checks that'll show that you're making that payment. Harry, you go for it. What do you got, Harry?
Yeah, I like stump the mortgage people, Harvey. I do. I like stump the mortgage people. First of all, you can't transfer a land contract to a mortgage. You actually have to qualify for a mortgage, and then we pay off the land contract holder. So there's no just signing something and transferring. You actually have to qualify. That's number one. Number two is we have to collect all the documents and take a look at it. So I'm all for stumping the mortgage people, but we have to see how this unfolds before we can even say that we're stumped.
Yeah. What was the rest of the question?
Go ahead, Beck. It was a general. It was just he said was to transfer a land contract. But look, here's a couple things about land contracts. Families out there that have land contracts now, if you've paid 12 timely payments and you've worked on it and your credit's in a good situation, you're going to qualify for a mortgage. You can do a refinance to a conventional loan if you qualify that way. You could refinance to an FHA loan. If you'd like to pay off your land contract and take cash out, you can do an FHA mortgage up to $356,362. So there's lots of choices. And anyone who's listening who might have a land contract, give us a phone call. Simple as that. 248-539-9797. We'll talk about your situation, Joe. Look, you want to sell the house. Or once in a while, there'll be a seller out there that in today's marketplace will say, I don't know, give me $100,000. I'll be your bank. I just don't see that happening lately.
It's not the most common, but it comes up, right?
Sure.
And here's the thing, is if you're going to enter a land contract, you also should be talking to somebody like Becky or you guys who is going to keep in touch throughout the term of this contract. You're likely entering a land contract for a reason. It might be that you unfortunately, maybe you're in a car accident, right? So you stopped working, you got some damaged credit now, but you got the cash. So you do a land contract and you repair the credit. So you work with someone who's qualified to help you repair the credit and get out of land contract, because a land contract deal is not a standard conventional mortgage. It's probably 5 or 6%. It was probably 30 or 40% down, right? It's more than a normal conventional mortgage, FHA mortgage, VA. I'm not using those terms. I'm just mean land contract versus something that we get from the bank.
Fair enough. John Kolb, I believe, is calling in. Good morning, John. You're calling us from the middle of the state. What's happening?
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
No, it's a great point. There's lots of different angles on there. And John, and thanks for joining us, of course, in the middle of the state. John, stay on the line with us while we have some other conversations you can join in at 248-539-9797 if you want to sneak in a call. We had a few good calls this morning. Land contracts are always a great topic. The families out there, Joe, as you mentioned, there's a reason why someone wants to do some unconventional financing with a seller. And just in today's marketplace, because it's so competitive, most of the sellers can take a conventional mortgage. And again, they're taking cash offers. So you throw in land contracts, a whole new angle, and probably an avenue that's just a one in 1,000, or if that.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into a land contract, including can they even do one?
Yeah.
Right? If you got a first and a second mortgage,
Can't even do it.
Right? So, I mean, there's a ton that goes in. It certainly can't. It's a tool, right? And this is where it comes down to really understanding what you're getting into, signing what you're signing. Are you reading it? Do you understand it? Do you know where you're going from there? You got to have a plan. You got to work with folks like us who work on a plan. It's not just a transaction. We're not just setting you up, buying your house, and then boom, we're done. We never hear from you again. I hope you call me if you want to refinance or sell again. No, we're talking to you and keeping in communication with you after the transaction, because these things are lifelong investments, and we're the ones to help you out with it.
You can gain a lot of wealth by home ownership, and some of the numbers are staggering over the last couple of years. I mean, 45,000 maybe over the last 2 years of the typical homeowner has gained that much equity. Well, if you do have a land contract, you better pay off that land contract holder and make sure you're making timely payments, as you don't want to lose that wealth that you've just got your hands on. So as we talk about, Joe's, today's competitive marketplace, get that mortgage. There's not a bubble out there. And we do have open lines. Let's just jump into USDA real quick. Becky, you want to jump in with me on this? United States Department of Agriculture, rural development loans. Hey, look, you might be in Monroe County, Lenawee, Flint, Livingston, all around the state of Michigan. Becky, 1 to 4, the general average is 1 to 4 people in the household. The income limit's $91,000. So a lot of families qualify for that zero down rural development loan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, USDA is a very unique product that you can utilize, but not only do you have to qualify for this particular product as a borrower, but the property also has to qualify. You can't just get a USDA because you want a USDA. I mean, there's a lot. Again, you either fit in the box for this one. It's a very specific, very, like you have to qualify. Property's got to qualify. It's a very specific buyer in home that can qualify for these mortgages. And it starts by a conversation. When you're looking to buy a home, we're going to get you in contact with a great person like Joe. And then we're going to find out what is your goals, what are the boxes that we're going to check, and what's going to be the vehicle we're going to get you there. And we've had a lot of conversation today about these unique things that still exist out there, right? We've had a land contract call. You can go on we could have 2 shows on just specific land contracts. So like when John Kolb chimed in because he heard something that I heard the same thing, there's so many moving parts to a land contract that you can't just, shut it down really quick. I mean, so we could spend 2 shows. You got someone that's on an arm, self-employed, their income is kind of hairy. No one ever educated them on how to properly document the income to qualify for a mortgage. And then we have this gentleman in Melvindale that is at 8% still. I mean, so these things are still out there that were bad 10 years ago, right? Not even like they're bad. They just didn't know any better, right? So that's the purpose of our show, is to kind of let you, kind of bring that to light, that if, you're in these mortgages that were 10 years ago, or you're self-employed, you need to have these conversations so we can get you in better positions. And a lot of it starts with the fact that no one's doing anything intentionally, just no one knew any better. So call us and we're here to help you, obviously.
I like that. We'll go to Harry for his last words. Harry, these pre-approved in 3 minutes. Buying a house, we're not microwaving popcorn here, Harry. Let's take our time and get this thing right.
Yeah, it's the biggest purchase of your life. You have to set it up right. Like we said, we get into people's goals and objectives. We absolutely have to have a plan, and we'll get you pre-approved. We need certain documents to do it. But you can't fall for all that. There's no super fun, happy meal mortgage plan, okay? And chances are, again, I'll say it again, it's my new mantra. The people that got you in trouble before are going to get you in trouble again. Stick with what you know. Stick with the basics. We're very, very extremely conservative, making sure that you get these done, and we're extremely diligent. And we wish everybody all the success in the world, and we'll get it done for you, Harvey.
Joe Muck, always thanks for coming on with us. Joe Muck, he's one of the best out there. If you're looking to buy a house anywhere in Southeast Michigan, Joe Muck, NextHome All Pro Realty. Joe, always thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll get you back on again. We'll see you in another month or so. And anyone who out there is looking to buy a house, Capital Mortgage Funding at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We'll get you set up with a strong approval letter. And again, if you haven't refinanced your house, we're the company to call. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We got Pat Caputo. I think he's down there at Detroit Lions, staying down there at Ford Field. We got a whole bunch of sports here on 97.1 The Ticket. Keep it here, and we'll see you next Saturday.